So it's a hot one out today, and I've got a few things I need to do outside, but they're gonna have to wait. I started. We're on the road, but we're just haven't got to the end yet. So what I'm going to do is I can't put this away until I'm done with something out there. So nor can I put this away. So I'm going to putz around a little bit out here. Or in here. So I got the air on, and there's a few things I'm just going to try to take care of in here. One is, I want to get this working. These wires, for some reason, do not want to cooperate. And I've never really had wires that acted like this. That reminds me, I wanted to see something here. Come on. Anyhow, yeah, for some reason these wires seem to be not wanting to cooperate, and I got to try to figure out why. They keep breaking, and they break where the solder is. I soldered on there, and I've been soldering a long time, so I'm not saying that it can't be made, but it's not at this point. But the wire breaks. Yeah. Can you see how that broke right there? I mean, it breaks off like it was rotted or decayed or acid. Then it's got a little green. But it's not like that when I solder it on there. A few minutes later, bingo. I've soldered this wire on here four or five times yesterday alone. These are the outputs. This is the input. This is the input and output ground. So it's a shared ground. The whole board should be ground. I like to see how these are connected, but I don't want to start analyzing how things are made. I want to try to get it fixed. So the first thing I want to do is change that power cable, because it's just way too, it's not that it's too thick or too heavy, it's too stiff, and it just doesn't work. So we are going to start by changing this wire and using it a little different type of wire, even if I have to go smaller. I do have a heavier now these ends are also real crapo. They just don't seem to have any tension. They look good. They have a little tension, but not to where it's going to work on these wires. So, and I don't like the way that they are in the grip area. So these are kind of a pain in the ass as well. I'm going to just leave them on here for now. And I don't want to hang them up. I'm going to throw them on the floor. This here way I won't forget where the hell they are. Now, here's another set of leads. I don't want to ruin a set of leads. That you don't want to do. Because these when you buy them, it'll be expensive. These are leads for like a test meter. So just to destroy them, to use them for a piece of wire, Now this would be nice, but it's a little too thin, and again, it's stiff. And you really don't want to deal with stiff. But they're a good set of test leads, so these will be used, but I only use them for certain things. Now, what else do we have over here? Well, that's something here. What the hell is this thing? Well, this has a switch on it. And all it is a wire with a switch. So let's put that over there. I don't want to ruin that either, because it does have a switching line, and I'm always using switches, so you guys know that. Let's get this saw out of the way. Yes, let's do that. I don't know why I have a saw hanging up here with wires. It's just the way I organize things, I guess. Okay, so here's what I have. I have these test leads. So I'm just going to throw over there. I have a test lead, which again, I don't want to destroy. I have a jumper, which I actually need more of these. And I have this wire, but it's got the same jumpers on it. Now, I can probably get away with this. It's not coated or colored the way I'd like it to be, but you know what? We got the colored ends on it, so that would probably be okay. The only thing I may want to do is take this end off and cut this a little different so that the end will be up here more, because I don't like it where the ends can touch. Sorry guys, because if I'm hanging these and they're going to be hot all the time basically, I don't want to have this going like this and shorten out. I'd rather cut this one about 3 inches shorter so it won't be able to make contact with that one just by hanging. But I think this is probably going to be the way to go. That's what I'm thinking. I am going to go in the back and look to see what I have back there. I have some red wire back there that I'd like to use. This has banana plugs on it, so I'm going to put this over here. I got some red wire back there that I'd really like to use, but I haven't got a black wire to go with it. And so here, I'll show you. Hold on. This wire is great. It's flexible as all hell. It's lightweight. It's mismarked, so I don't mind what I use it on. This is telling me, when I bought this, the price wasn't great, but it was good. It was a good price for what it is. It is super flexible, and you can tie knots in it. It's great wire. However, it's not the gauge. If you look at this, you'll say, oh, great, that's got to be 10 gauge. Yeah, right. Let's just say that it is. I forgot if it's even on here. Tells me this is 8 gauge. There's no way in hell that this is 8 gauge. This is more like a 12 gauge. So if somebody were to buy this and not know anything about what wire is or wire size, and they're buying something that they need 8 gauge for, This is not 8 gauge. Hold on a minute. Alright, so anyhow, as I was saying, this is more like a 12 gauge. There's no way in hell that that's an 8 gauge wire. No way. Now, it is flexible, and if I use it as a 12 gauge, I'm happy. Now this one is a black one. This is made by a different manufacturer. This is made by, I forgot what the hell it was. Is it on there or something? Road Rage. This is true to size. Now this is telling me that this one is 8 gauge. Now, if I have, which I do have, a red one like this, by the same manufacturer, however, it's not quite as flexible. Eight gauge, so-called 8 gauge. You see where I'm going here? So this, by no means, is 8 gauge. I'm telling you, that's probably a 12. It may even narrow into a 14, but I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt and call it a 12. But that's 8 gauge. If this was as flexible as this one, I would make it out of these. But this one by no means is. It's still flexible, but it's not as flexible. This is more like a rubber. This is more like a vinyl. Now I do have this in both red and black. This one I only have in red. Here's the red version of this, which is Road Rage, which is what I normally buy. What caught my eye on this one wasn't so much the price, but the flexibility on it. This, again, is flexible, but it's not like this. You know, I mean, it may appear to be, but it's not. This again is rubber, or it feels like a rubber. This is like a vinyl of some sort. This would probably be too heavy. One is the gauge. If this was a 10, it may be better. And the other is, even though it is flexible, for the most part, this is what I always use. This is my go-to wire. But if I use it, even though they're separate and they're not on one lead, they're still a little too heavy for me to use. Sorry guys. Now this one is a 10 gauge. This would be fine, but I don't think I have enough of this. I'm gonna need I should have about another foot and a half more than what I have here. This is flexible. It's a Road Rage, but it's a 10 gauge, and it's just what I need, but I don't have. This is also real flexible. I remember when I bought this, it came in, I was surprised. It's transparent. You can see the wire in there. And this one here, this looks like a 10 gauge. And again, this one's nice and flexible. But all I have right now is that 8 gauge stuff, and it's just not as flexible. That's the problem. I'd really like to say I wish I had, well, no, I can't do that either. I'm going to say negative ground the tabletop here, the saw, on the DC side. So all I would need is one. But if I'm not touching it, that's not going to work. Alright, that's not going to work.